It's the Christmas present borrowers certainly wouldn't have wished for.
There was no early Christmas gift from the Reserve Bank today.
It'll be a less than Merry Christmas for Australians struggling to afford their mortgage repayments.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And bar humbug to the Reserve Bank for yet another interest rate rise, the 8th in a row, which took the cash rate last week to a 10-year high of 3.1%. And what is driving that surge? Inflation? Well, yes. But the media is blaming one man in particular.
The Reserve Bank governor at home this morning, but for many, he's just trashed Christmas.
Dr Lowe is certainly in the Kris Kringle naughty corner at the moment.
Philip Lowe is very much in the media's naughty corner, ambushed at home last week by 7 News like a scandal-plagued celebrity as he took out the trash.
He wasn't saying much today.
Can you tell us what's in store for Christmas?
And Nine was no kinder, drawing him as the Grinch, set to ruin Christmas, while the West Australian went for a boozing movie anti-hero.
Bad Santa.
So, how did news of rate rises become so personal? Well, Lowe's the one who pulls the strings at the Reserve Bank. And back in February 2021, he bravely offered this prediction.
The message is interest rates are going to be low for quite a while yet.
That clearly turned out to be wrong. So, was it one bad call, an unfortunate slip-up? Well, no, because he offered similar thoughts 5 months later in July.
Our central scenario continues to be that the condition for a rise in the cash rate will not be met until 2024.
And again in November, with a little more equivocation.
It is still plausible that the first increase in the cash rate will not be before 2024. There are, of course, other possibilities.
Lowe was careful to say each time it was just the bank's central scenario that rates would not rise. But it's no surprise the media took it as a forecast.
The Reserve Bank had good news for homeowners today. Interest rates are unlikely to increase until 2024.
And no surprise that they then reminded Dr Lowe of his reassuring predictions when rates did start to climb. As David Koch fumed to Treasurer Jim Chalmers in July.
Philip Lowe was telling Aussies, go out and borrow. Go out and borrow as much as you like. Was that advice to average Australians negligent? Were they derelict in their duty to lead average Australians up the garden path to get themselves in debt?
It was, and they were, Koshy declared. And it's a fair argument. And Lowe's response to the fuss? A month earlier, he'd defended himself to the ABC's 7:30 in a rare TV interview, telling Lee Sales,
Sometimes my comments get interpreted as me having made a promise or a very strong statement that interest rates would stay where they were to 2024. In our own communication, our own way of thinking, it was very much a conditional statement.
But was it read as a conditional statement? Sales clearly did not believe so.
What would you say to people watching who feel rattled because they think, well, I made borrowing decisions based on what was said in last October and now it's changed and so I feel stressed, I feel worried about where it's going?
And media criticism just got louder as rates kept rising. In July, the Canberra Times sent a blunt front-page message in an open letter to the governor. And in August, the Daily Telegraph papped him picking up his lunch and told him where to go.
Take a hike.
Low blow.
Call for RBA Governor to resign for stuffing up his forecasts and costing us billions.
And it wasn't just the papers.
The Governor of the Reserve Bank is once again under pressure to resign.
If he was a politician, I think he would be out of a job by now.
Philip Lowe, the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia, should be shown the door today.
He was not, but a fortnight ago he did apologise after a fashion.
I'm certainly sorry if people listened to what we'd said and then acted on that, what we'd said, and now regret what they had done. So that's regrettable.
And what was the media verdict on that? Also, not good.
It's the kind of patronising apology you might get from someone who thinks that they're a little bit smarter than you.
It's worth saying that Lowe was not alone in his prediction. The US Federal Reserve also predicted rates would stay frozen, as did the European Central Bank, at least this year. And top Australian economist Chris Richardson admitted last week,
to be fair to them, it's never been harder to be in charge of a central bank. And I have to admit, I made the same mistakes that the Reserve Bank did in thinking that interest rates could stay lower for longer.
Philip Lowe's term as Reserve Bank Governor runs out next September. And our central scenario is he's unlikely to get another term. That may be harsh, because if all economists who flunked their forecasts lost their jobs, there would not be many still employed. But when you're governor of the Reserve Bank, people do listen to what you say and act upon it. And can you blame the media for reminding him of that? And now to one of the year's biggest stories, which is still raging on.
Charges against Bruce Lehrmann, the man accused of raping Brittany Higgins, have been dropped. The ACT's Director of Public Prosecutions has decided it's no longer in the public interest to continue with the case because of serious concerns about Brittany's mental health and the risk to her life.
That was 10 days ago, and you might have thought it would be the end.
I've made the difficult decision that it is no longer in the public interest to pursue a prosecution at the risk of a complainant's life.
But the media has continued to try the case, and the blame game is now in full swing, with calls for Shane Drumgold, the ACT DPP, to quit, and claims backed by leaked police documents that charges should never have been laid.
The most senior police officer on the Brittany Higgins case believed there was insufficient evidence to prosecute Bruce Lehrmann, but could not stop the ACT Director of Public Prosecutions from proceeding because there is too much political interference.
And since then, we've had the DPP attacking the police for opposing the prosecution.
Warfare over rape trial.
DPP accuses police of interference in case.
And the police union hitting back at the DPP, and both sides calling for a public inquiry. Meanwhile, the Nine papers reported on court documents from the trial to claim that other women made allegations to the media about Bruce Lehrmann, who has always claimed he's innocent and has had no finding made against him. And others have proclaimed that Higgins was speaking for all women and telling the truth, with human rights lawyer Jennifer Robinson writing in The Guardian.
The fact that the prosecution has not been pursued and Lehrmann has not been convicted does not mean that Brittany lied.
And even the Prime Minister has joined in the debate, while trying not to take sides, by saying,
"She is a woman of considerable courage. She is a woman who has been very brave, and I wish her all the best."
And what are we left with at the end of this year-long saga? No resolution and one hot mess. Or as Sky's Peter Credlin told viewers,
we've either got a young woman who'll never get justice over an alleged rape, or we've got a young man that will never get justice and his name will never completely and adequately be cleared over this. So no winners.
So who is to blame for this outcome? Well, take your pick. But in her Sunday Herald Sun column, Credlin had no doubt who should be on the list.
When you're pointing the finger, whatever your own view, don't forget sections of the media, because they have a lot to answer here.
And Andrew Bolt has also blamed the media over its role.
Now, this just adds to my conviction that the way this allegation has been promoted and treated as the gospel truth before any trial or court verdict is a disgrace.
No criminal court will now be able to give that verdict and decide what happened. But it seems the civil courts may well be asked to. As The Project reported,
Brittany Higgins is planning to file a compensation claim against the Commonwealth and sue her two former bosses, Senators Michaelia Cash and Linda Reynolds.
And more importantly, from the media's point of view, Bruce Lehrmann is also lawyering up, as the Australians Janet Albrechtsen and Stephen Rice reported last week.
One of Australia's top media lawyers has joined Bruce Lehrmann's legal team in a series of possible defamation actions against media outlets and personalities, including TV presenter Lisa Wilkinson over the Channel 10 interview in which Brittany Higgins first accused a male colleague of rape.
And the Australian reports it would not just be Channel 10 in the firing line.
The ABC is likely to be sued by Mr Lehrmann over comments during the National Press Club appearance in February by Ms Higgins and Grace Tame, as well as the content of various news and current affairs programs. Several newspapers, including The Australian, may also be issued with concerns notices.
In fact, almost all the TV networks could be targets for running Higgins' post-trial statement live from the steps of the court, as could the Nine newspapers who published it in full. In it, Higgins hit out at how the legal process had treated her.
I chose to speak up. To speak up and share my experiences with others.
We've beeped out the bits that might cause problems, which is about 80% of the speech. So, would Higgins take the stand for the defence in any action? Surprisingly, yes. Tweeting this from a Queensland hospital on Wednesday.
If required, I am willing to defend the truth as a witness in any potential civil cases brought about by Mr. Lerman.
And does the media have a case to answer? Nine's Ray Hadley, who admits he has spent a lot of time getting sued, reckons it does, saying the role of the media has been utterly disgraceful.
But I can tell you right now, we do have trial by media. The interviews by Samantha Maiden and Lisa Wilkinson, and then her subsequent appearance at the National Press Club, had Bruce Lehrmann hung, drawn and quartered before he'd even been charged. Now, if that's the way justice is going to operate in 2022 and beyond, we all have a problem.
It's worth pointing out that most of those reports and interviews did not identify the accused, which makes it harder for Lehrmann to take action. But other commentators were also taking a swipe, with the Australian's Chris Merritt telling Andrew Bolt with some degree of glee,
"This could be the best thing that's happened to the media in some time. It might bring home to a few editors and news directors that the difference between a conviction and an accusation."
So, what chance Lehrmann will sue and take the media down? We asked media lawyer Justin Quill, who told us,
"Frankly, I don't think Lehrmann has a good case. First, the media generally reported Higgins' allegations as that, allegations. Second, if he brought action against the media or Higgins, he would have to give evidence and subject himself and his story to cross-examination, which he was able to avoid in the criminal matter."
And he summed it up with this memorable line.
"Lehrmann suing would be a case of a man going back into the lion's den to retrieve his hat."
And University of WA media law expert Michael Douglas had a similar view, telling Media Watch,
"Like Ben Roberts-Smith's case, a claim by Mr. Lehrmann could expose him to the real risk of coming out looking worse."
On that basis, perhaps, a settlement is more likely than a trial. In the meantime, Lehrmann is reported to be in talks with 2 TV networks about a possible sit-down interview. And you can read full statements from Michael Douglas and Justin Quill on our website. And finally, to a grubby tabloid tale.
Kate Ritchie's private pain, why the TV favourite is taking on the paparazzi after what she describes as a shocking invasion of privacy.
Last week, popular actor turned radio host Kate Ritchie found herself targeted by this nasty Daily Mail hit job.
Exclusive. Kate Ritchie enters a mental health clinic after she left her top-rating Nova radio show due to stress when she was charged with drink driving.
Yes, papped going into a Sydney clinic and then served up as news, with the Mail running 10 photos of Ritchie, along with a ridiculous disclaimer that it was not suggesting she was there for treatment. A few hours after the Mail story appeared, Ritchie ended up confirming the news, posting on social media that she'd had a challenging and stressful year and was seeking help for alcohol addiction. And with that, the Daily Mail had the story it wanted.
Home and away star Kate Ritchie admits she is in rehab for an unhealthy reliance on alcohol.
Quoting from Ritchie's Instagram statement,
"As everyone would understand, this is a very big step for me to take. I want to sincerely thank everybody who is supporting me."
But was that all Ritchie had to say? No. There was another pointed paragraph which the Daily Mail left out, where Kate Ritchie added,
"It is a shocking invasion of my privacy that the Daily Mail, through their unrelenting stalking of me, has forced me to issue this public statement in their blatant attempt to publicly shame me on a private health matter."
Yep, fancy that. The Daily Mail, which is never shy of lifting copy from others, cut out Ritchie's condemnation. But they did not omit their readers' disgust from comments on their Facebook page.
"This is pathetic putting this out. Shame on you."
This article is so distasteful.
Leave the poor woman alone. Getting help for mental illness and or addiction is brave and hard.
And on its website,
"This is intrusive and inappropriate. Would like to see you called out on Media Watch for this."
Consider it done. We asked the Daily Mail why it didn't report Kate Ritchie's comments in full. We did not hear back. And that is all from us for tonight and for the year. You can see past episodes of Media Watch on Facebook, YouTube, iView and our website, and also see Media Bites on Instagram. Thank you to the Media Watch team. Thank you for your tips, your feedback, good and bad, and your viewing. We'll be back again in late January. Until then, goodbye.